Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw! It's Monday. No, it's not. On Mondays we do tier lists. Sorry about that. And on Wednesdays we wear pink. It's Thursday.
I don't know why Dion's going out with a high school boy. They're like dogs. You have to clean them and feed them, and they're just like these nervous creatures that jump and slobber all over you.
Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, as if!
I thought it would only be reasonable to do a tier list based on all of the held items inside of Pokemon Unite, given that we have two new held items that came to the game, and I'm going to talk about some of the uses of each item on here. I'm also going to mention a few things. If you would like to hear more about item builds for Pokemon, I could do a whole video showing all of the Pokemon and all of the items that work well on them. Let me know if that's interesting in the comments. I also have a Boost Emblem video I'm working on. Let me know if you'd be interested in Boost Emblem builds as well. Let's talk about our tier list here. We have our S tier, the good on just about everyone tier, so this is the way I'm looking at this here. I would imagine that outside of a few players who have been with the game for a long time, a lot of people are deciding what to spend item enhancers on, or, you know, they only have 3 super item enhancers, so they want to know what to use them on. S tier items are going to be great calls for this because they're going to work on just about every Pokemon. The A tier is an amazing item for who it's for. I'll talk more about that, but these are items that are incredible on specific Pokemon. We have our B tier. Still got the B tier. We have our C tier, specific, really specific, or not that great. We have our D tier, the Drain Crown Memorial tier. Spoiler alert, I think it's one of the worst items in Pokemon Unite. And the EXP share tier. Let's talk about... I got choked up. I'm a little... my daughter brought home another cold. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm also choked up. Let's talk a little bit about EXP share, then we'll talk about Drain Crown and get into the rest of our tier list here. EXP share, I think, is actually a really, really good item. It's just, in most play, solo, duo, trio, maybe trio, you can get away with this a little bit, but in most play, I've found that you cannot count on your allies to be a lower level than you so that you take advantage of at least part of the benefit of EXP share, which is that passive experience gain. Now they have actually buffed this item, or buffed it. They have actually buffed this item to the point where you are still getting the benefit of it even if you're not the lower level, so you still get the shared XP. And the way this works is, if you KO an enemy, or if an ally KOs an enemy wild Pokemon, this might work for enemy Pokemon too, I have no idea. I believe it's only wild Pokemon. Wild Pokemon, and you're in sort of this little radius around it, you are essentially generating more experience than was there before. Let's say there was 100 experience in that wild Pokemon. The experience would normally be split 70-30, 70 to the person who KO'd it, 30 to the person who was near it. Now the experience gets split 100-30. So it gets split differently. Your ally will get all the experience and you'll get an additional 30. That is the way experience share works, or at least how it's been explained to me. It's a really cool item. It's just insanely specific, and if you're playing solo mostly, or even duo, I would highly recommend never using this item because you can't count on your allies to take advantage of it. Okay, now let's talk about Drain Crown. Drain Crown looked like it was going to be a really cool item, but for a few reasons, this item I think is really, really unfortunate. So, Drain Crown. It heals you only on your basic attacks that are physical, so any special attacker can't use this item. It also doesn't heal you if you're hitting a shield. There are tons of shields in Unite. It also only heals you for 10% of the damage you do, so that's your damage after, you know, all the calculations with defense and stuff like that. It does not heal you on true damage. It just overall is very, very bad. I think right now maybe Garchomp can take advantage of it, maybe. Outside of that, I think there are just so many better items. This item needs a little love to be useful, and it's down in a low tier. Let's throw something else in a low tier. Let's see here. Rocky Helmet. Rocky Helmet is a great example of an item that sounds like it's good and unfortunately doesn't work at all. It's very, very odd. It doesn't activate as often as you think it would. You have to take a set amount of damage for it to send damage back. It's just rare. The defense bonus it gives you is not that relevant. Defenses in Unite are generally not that good. For the most part, HP is very good, and defenses are kind of not so great. I can talk at length about this, but in general, just know HP much better than defenses. This item really does not help you very much at all. It just doesn't activate often enough, and there are way better defensive items that we will get to here. Let's head on up the tier list here. You know what? We could just hang out in the D tier for a second. Why not? We're already here. Let's talk about leftovers. Leftovers take a little while to activate, and even once they activate, they're just not healing you enough. Even if you're a tanky Pokemon, it just feels like you don't get to take advantage of this often enough, because in Unite, you are often fighting. I feel like if this item activated faster, was active all the time, maybe if it didn't activate faster but it actually healed you considerably, maybe this would be a good item. But this is a starter item. It feels like it's, you know, it sounds good, it feels like it's good in the mainline games, right? But in Pokemon Unite, no. Leftovers, very, very bad. I don't think there's a single situation that you should run really anything in this D tier. I think every single one of these items, there's something else I would rather run for any Pokemon that you want to put them on. And that's why they are down in the Drain Crown Memorial tier. Let's see, where do we want to go next? Let's bop around here a little bit. Let's talk about an S tier item. I think Focus Band is one of the best items inside of Pokemon Unite. It's good on every single Pokemon you put it on. The more HP you have and the more you're kind of up in the mix and brawling, the more opportunities you will have for this item to be active when you need it. Basically, your health gets low, and you start to heal yourself rapidly once it gets low. And I think this is just a really, really solid item. Again, there isn't a single Pokemon that you wouldn't at least say this would help in some situation. You don't need to run it on everyone, but these S tier items are items that if you literally had to run anything in the S tier for the most part on any Pokemon, you'd go, well, at least I can get some benefit out of it. And Focus Band is that item. It's great if you are very strategic about not losing your Focus Band before the big Rayquaza fight. This could be a huge difference maker too. Oh, somebody subbed while I was doing this. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the sub. Okay, let's see here. Next, let's go to something in the A tier. Attack weight. Attack weight, I think, is an A tier item. The reason it's A tier is because while it is one of the best items in the game for the Pokemon that it is for, it's extremely specific. It's not good for any of your special attackers. It's really not good for your supporters, except for Sableye. They're all special attack. A lot of your attackers, it's not... I mean, you can benefit from stacking with Cinderace, but it's not that necessary. You don't need it. You don't need it on many Pokemon, but on the Pokemon that it does work well for, Zarina, Lucario, Sableye, things like this, Dodrio, this item is extremely good. One of the best in the game for those Pokemon. So again, very, very specific, but incredible. It gives you so much extra damage, especially for attackers. And I guess I'll talk about the other two stacking items right now. I'm going to put them like this. And this might be surprising here. So special attack specs, I actually think for the most part, you don't need to run this item. And it's because special attackers oftentimes, except for a couple, like Mr. Mime is an example here, but special attackers oftentimes don't have very good special attack scaling. Oddly enough, supporters seem to have little better scaling, and what that is for people who don't understand is it's the percentage of your stat that goes into the damage you output. And you would think, for instance, that stacking special attack items on Delphox would really change things, but it doesn't feel like it really affects your damage as much as you would like. And unlike attackers, you're not getting extra damage on your basic attacks, you're only getting extra damage on your boosted attacks. And again, it's just not that significant. In general, while I love stacking, I think these are probably the worst stacking item, except a few rare cases where they're pretty good. Eos Cookie is, I think, an underrated item in Pokemon Unite. The thing that makes this item bad is if you're bad at stacking. If you're bad at stacking, I would never run this item. However, if you're good at stacking and you know how to get in and score a lot, we're talking about a ton of extra HP for your Pokemon. It's not insignificant, the amount of HP that you get out of this item once it's fully stacked. However, if you're not used to stacking, this item is definitely one of the higher risk, higher reward items, and I think you need to be pretty familiar with what's going on inside the game before you start using an item like an Eos Cookie effectively. All right, where to next? Let's look at Assault Vest. Assault is a C. Here's the thing about Assault Vest. If you knew what was going to be on the enemy team, for instance, we were in the Mime, Mew, Glaceon meta, and it was on every single game that you would load into, you can get away with running an Assault Vest on your tankier Pokemon and actually getting some decent value out of it. In general, you don't know what the enemy's bringing into the game. I've literally run an Assault Vest where the enemy team didn't have a single special attacker, and it just stayed up the whole time. It's just so... If this Assault Vest soaked up any kind of damage, this could be a really amazing item. But because the damage is specifically special attack, it's just so... It's really a flip of the coin as to whether or not you're going to get a lot of value out of this item. I do think it's better than everything in the D tier if you had to run it, but unfortunately, it doesn't give you enough defenses. It doesn't cover you from enough damage, I would say. That's why I'm putting it down in the C tier. Buddy Barrier, I think, is an S tier item. It's definitely fallen out of favor after the Buddy Barrier nerfs. The Buddy Barrier nerfs. But this item is still really good. You can run this on any Pokemon. You're going to use your Unite move multiple times a game. You're going to give yourself a shield and an ally a shield. It's a good item. It's not that popular. It's not a very cool item, I wouldn't say, but especially if you're a newer player or you're having trouble winning a lot of your games, take off one of your higher risk items. The things I'm thinking of right now are maybe a stacking item or something like that, and put on a Buddy Barrier and start using your Unite moves in big fights when you're near an ally, and just see how much better those fights go, because they can really change the outcome of a big fight. Energy Amp. Energy Amp, I would say, is an A tier item. There are only so many Pokemon that can take advantage of this, but lately I have been loving Energy Amp. I think it's really, really solid if you're a Pokemon that is going to use its Unite move a lot, or use its Unite move and do crazy amounts of burst damage, and that's what Energy Amp is for. Pretty good on Pokemon like Charizard. I've been using it on Dodrio and it's been really great. Scyther, I think, is very, very good with an Energy Amp. And then there are just Pikachu, of course. Did I already say Pikachu? Did I already say Delphox? What world am I in? Okay, so I think, again, very specific, but a very, very good item. What do I have on my screen here? I had a chat somehow that was still on my screen. I don't know what it is. All right, moving on. Let's see, another item, Float Stone. This is gonna surprise people, but I think Float Stone's actually really great. Low activation time, it gives you attack, it gives you move speed. You don't want to use it on everyone necessarily, but this is a really, really good item. I like it a lot on speedsters. I like it a lot on some all-rounders. I think the extra movement it gives you and the positioning you can get because of it are really, really solid. I really like it on Power Up Punch Lucario. So a really good item, and a low activation time means you're moving around the map at a really good clip. It used to be kind of a troll item, but now I think it's really good. Muscle Band, S tier. Muscle Band's one of the best items in the game, still is one of the best items in the game. The attack speed thing aside, it's the extra damage you get on all of your basic attacks, and almost any Pokemon can take advantage of this item. No, you're probably not running this on Blissey or something like that, but in general, Muscle Band is pretty good on every single Pokemon in the game, for sure. Let's see, Scope Lens, definitely an A tier. There are a few Pokemon that you just would never run a crit item on. However, anyone that can crit, especially if they have natural crit, and even some that don't, can often take advantage of this item. It's great. It not only gives you more crit damage, extra crit chance, but also if you critically hit on your basic attacks, it does an extra little pop of damage right there. Scope Lens is really amazing. Obviously, you run it on Pokemon like Absol. Charizard is great with this item. Aquatail, Azumarill, great with this item. It's just a really, really solid item that most anyone who critically hits can take advantage of, for sure. Score Shield. I'm putting Score Shield back down into the C tier. For a little while, I think Score Shield was better than that. I thought you were better than that, Score Shield. And now here we are. For a little while, I thought it was better than that, but I think what's going on right now with Score Shield is now that Rayquaza is more similar to Zapdos, I think this item has just lost a phenomenal amount of value. And you really can't make the same plays with it anymore. You're much better off having an item like a focus band, buddy bear, etc. that are going to help you win the fight at Rayquaza. And because of that, it's just so insanely specific. And unfortunately, while it's an item I love, I just don't think you get much value out of it. Okay, Shell Bell, B tier. Solid item, gives you some cooldown reduction, gives you some special attack, heals you up on your moves, and it's kind of a long internal cooldown on that, I would say. But in general, I think a pretty dang solid item. Shell Bell is pretty dang solid. Things in the B tier, pretty solid. You can run them on the Pokemon they're for. So, Aeos Cookie, I like running it on, again, a Pokemon you're stacking a lot. And Shell Bell, I like running this on special attackers like... Who do I run? Oh, I think this is really fun on someone who hits with their special attacks a lot, like Sylveon. Sylveon's very fun with this item. Someone who wants to take advantage of cooldowns, Delphox is really fun with this. A lot of special attackers do pretty well with Shell Bell. Hex Gengar can be very fun with this item. Wise Glasses, B tier. I think they're B. They're more specific than the next item, and you know what? I'll just throw it up there right now, which is Choice Specs that I would put into the A tier. There are a few Pokemon that Wise Glasses mathematically works a little bit better for, but again, in general, it's just that the special attack stat doesn't do that much. So when you have an item that does a little bit more, like Choice Specs giving you an extra little pop of damage from now and then, that item I think oftentimes when you're using a special attacker will give you more value. In general, when looking between these two, if I had to pick between the two and you wanted to upgrade one item for your special attackers, Choice Specs all the way. Razor Claw. I love Razor Claw. It's one of my favorite items in Pokemon Unite. This one I'm a little partial to. I could see people saying, maybe it's more B tier. I freaking love Razor Claw. Extra damage after you throw a move, and it slows enemies on your physical attackers. I just think this item is so good. And it's so annoying. It annoys people so much. Love me some Razor Claw. Also gives you a little extra crit chance. Pretty low, but a little extra crit chance. We have our weakness policy. Weakness policy to me is more B tier, but it teeters into A. And the reason I think it teeters into A is, again, as I labeled my tiers, for who it's amazing on, it really is pretty dang amazing. So if you're a Pokemon that attacks and you're up in the mix a lot, this is a big percentage gain to your attack stat, and that could be really huge, especially, you know, if you're a Pokemon. Let's say you're Zeraora, and you already have a passive that helps with your attack stat. Now you have this item that also boosts it, and then you use a move that's hitting multiple people around you, or using your Unite move. You could just increase your damage output quite a bit with something like weakness policy. And while I don't run it as much anymore, because there is an item I'm about to talk about, while I don't run it as much anymore, I still think it's a pretty dang solid item. It's pretty good. For me, it's like between A and B, and I refuse to have a B plus on this tier list. All right, now let's talk about our final item, Rapid Fire Scarf. Rapid Fire Scarf is crazy. I think it's just insane. Yes, I understand I'm putting it in the S tier, and this is good on just about everyone. And of course, there are a few Pokemon you probably won't run this item on and have a lot of success with. Almost every Pokemon is good with this item. Mamoswine, Venusaur, Cinderace, Eldegoss. This item, a boost of attack speed every now and again is good on so many Pokemon. And the Pokemon this is really good on are kind of disgusting with this item. I'm still seeing people run this in weird ways and finding out that it's really solid on other Pokemon that they didn't even expect. So this is without question the star of the two new items that have come out. Drain Crown, bad in my opinion. Rapid Fire Scarf, insanely good. I hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about seeing a build list for all the Pokemon in the game with all the items. I'll look into doing something like that. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. I love you very much. As you can hear, I'm a little sick, but you know what I'm not sick of? Hanging out with you. Okay. Pretty cheesy. Goodbye, everybody. No switch up.